which is right now. I just heard the second beep. We are live. Today is Friday, July 24th. And today we're going to talk on the Hangout about using personal challenges to kick your business success into high gear. Joined once again by Dr. Bill. So we'll give him a chance to introduce himself and share his wins. But this has just been a crazy day for me. I think I said on the first podcast 2 weeks ago, my theme for the month was just to hold on tight, where the theme for July was to go fast. The theme for June was to go fast. The theme for July is to just hang on tight. And this feels like the culmination of all of that. I've been connecting with new contacts. I've been having awesome success and contacts with my coaching clients. I've been reaching out to people. I've been starting new projects. This has just been an awesome, crazy week. And I'm grateful to be able to share it with you guys. Had the chance already today to spend some time talking to Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill, quick introduction, and what's your win for the week?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Bill Moss with Keystone Specific Chiropractic Center, and I would have to say that my wins this week, one, just a couple things. One, it was our best collections week that we've had in our 8-month existence, so that's obvious for myself and my company, and we had our team meeting today, so we were all very excited about that. And probably one of the bigger pieces or bigger wins with that is that it was very easy. This month has been very easy and efficient because we've been kind of clearing clutter, mental clutter, and we've also been cleaning up a lot of processes that have kept us from reaching different levels and different heights. So that's probably even bigger win, because the more effortless the systems, the more effortless the day-to-day pieces are, the easier it's going to be to continue to have weeks just like this.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's hear the wins from the chat room. Share what's going well in your business, what's working well for you right now. Anything in the past week that's been a success. As business owners, we can end up with our heads in the weeds, face down in the sand far too often. And so this is our opportunity to really like pick our heads up and pay attention to what's going right in our businesses, because there's almost always something and we want more of that. So let's focus on that. And Bill, 100% on the right track. I love this idea of eliminating friction, eliminating resistance. You and I actually spent a lot of time talking about that and have a lot of that in common. You on the physical alignment side, if the body's working the way it's supposed to work, it is healthy and takes care of itself. Me on the mindset side, that if your emotional systems are all lined up, then success just flows out of us naturally. I love this theme. Go. Oh, do we still have Bill? It kind of froze up on.
Go. You love this theme. Okay. That's what it?
Yeah, I mean,
frees up on.
We spent a lot of time talking about this, right? How do we reduce friction? This is kind of your reduce friction, have more happiness, have more success. Things just kind of flow naturally and quickly and successfully, right? That's what we're all about.
Yeah, I think I always try to. I think that's why we get along so well, is because that concept holds true. And it's funny because my like chiropractic coach, one of the things he says, he always talks about like, what do you really stand for, like as a person? You want people care about your why, but they want to understand what you stand for. And his what he stands for is a world where business and health are known as fundamentals instead of fundamental pursuits. So it's not something you pursue, it's just the truth. That's how it is. Like, if the body's working correctly, you're going to be healthier. If you're removing the blocks to your success, you're going to be more successful. So I think that's one of the reasons that we get along so well, is because we kind of stand for the exact same thing in essence. It's just in different realms, if you will. So, I think the more that you can do that, or the more people can do that, is the easier it is to just keep going up.
Yeah, and the evidence of that is pain, physical pain in our body, emotional pain in our psyche or in our hearts, wherever. Like, that's the signal that there's something wrong, that we need to fix something, that we're injured, that we need to heal. Because under normal conditions, we don't walk around with pain. If we're healthy and happy and successful, like, that's what we do. When we're off balance, when we don't have that, there's something wrong, and that pain is how our body signals that to us, right?
For sure.
Okay, so we're going to talk about challenges today, using a personal challenge to keep your your business success into high gear. I do want to take a moment to say hi to Sean, who joined me in the chat room. Sean, I had a chance to talk to on the phone a couple of weeks ago. Awesome, awesome guy. Getting ready to launch his own podcast, so definitely stay tuned to hear more about that. Sean, welcome to the chat room, and share your win with us. Amy shared her win, which was to source 4 new products to sell, and already sold the newest launched product. So Amy's into online retail, and just some amazing things happening in her business there, which I get behind the scenes look at because I have inside access, right? Okay, so we're going to look at these challenges. And one thing that I said I would do today is share my experience with my 30-day challenge in June to have a new experience every day of the month. And that was a really incredible thing. But one of the questions I got recently is, okay, you did that and it sounds like fun and it's awesome, but what's that have to do with business? And I mean, it's a totally fair question. And my answer is, it absolutely has to do with business. It was perfect for my business. It's exactly what I needed to do. So the goal of going into it really was to immerse myself in just this high speed, high energy feeling that's going to connect me to the other business owners that I know. And the other people that I hang out with are people like Bill and Josh and Vladimir, who are all business owners, all have this high energy, say yes, move fast, quick decisions. Like, they're the kind of people who do these same kinds of activities that I was doing. And it created a great connection between us. Do you agree with that, Bill?
I do. I think it also brought an awareness where by you doing that, I realized all the things I'm doing for the first time. Meaning I continue to do that. You did that a month ago where you're like, I'm having a new experience every day. And like every weekend, I'm like, well, this is the first time I ever did this. This is the first time I ever did that. I've never shot guns before. I never did this activity before. I never ate at this restaurant. So it like revealed a way where like, hey, I'm having a new first every day, even though I didn't set out to actually do it. And that's been huge because my wife was like, at first when you were doing that, she's like, I don't, like, what is he doing? I don't get it. And she's like, I have new experiences all the time. I'm like, that's the point, Lauren. You have new experiences all the time and you never see them. And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. So now we have this fun game going back and forth where we're like, what did you do new today? And we're like, oh, I figured it out. So I think it's like really an awareness perspective that's huge for you and the people that you work with.
Absolutely. And the coolest part was probably even on that first day when I first started the challenge, the 4 of us were together, you were there, and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. And what happened just like blew my mind because everybody was like, that's awesome. You've totally got to do this and do this and do this and check out this thing and let's go do that. And within a week, 3 of us were going out to Float Spa together. And so what I learned from that is everybody wanted to be involved. Everybody around me that saw that that was happening was inspired by it and wanted to contribute and wanted to help and wanted to be a part of it. And these are like business issues. This is the connection that we want with our clients and with our prospects. And you were there for that. Like, how did you see that?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, yeah, it was fun. That first night, who knew you were going to have a squatters party in a house the first night? But I mean, we just probably spent a half hour coming up with all these different things. Like, hey, have you been here? No, I haven't. Oh my God, you got to go do that. Hey, have you ever done this activity? How about fast for a day? Like, I mean, we just kept making a list. And I'm sure I tried some of those things. And man, the last couple of weekends, I've done all kinds of things I had never done before. And it's like, oh, Mike had so many freaking great ideas. Like, what else can I do in life? And I find the more that I do that kind of stuff, the less I'm attached to outcomes in other things, and I'm looking for new experiences. And I don't worry so much about outcomes, where it's like, oh, I'm just going to try this new experience, and what? Some of them work out, some of them don't. So I think that was another lesson that you saw. Some of them worked out, some of them don't. Some of them were probably better than you thought, and some probably weren't as good as you thought. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the only one that I was truly disappointed by actually didn't happen until like the 27th day or something ridiculous like that. And by that point, the most surprising thing was that I'd had so much fun up to that point without ever being even the slightest disappointed. And so it was just such an incredible perspective shift to be able to look back on that and think like, man, for 26 days in a row, I did nothing but awesome, incredible things. Like, how awesome is that? That's my biggest problem is on my 27th day, I'm a little disappointed. But right, really, you're right, not a problem at all. And it was still a new experience. I was glad that I tried it. And even though that particular day didn't give me what I wanted, it did act as a springboard for me to go figure out, okay, well, I know that I'm interested in this topic, so how do I just make this work? And kicked off a whole nother series of events for me. So even that still is a win. And really, from a business standpoint, it is this connection. You guys that were at that first night are my ideal client prospects, ideal kind of people that I want to work with, be around. And it created a connection between us. We had a lot in common in that. We went and did some of those things together. We all participated in coming up with the idea. Everybody's taken that out into their own lives and done their own new experiences. And so that challenge on the surface, just like kind of a fun little personal thing, awesome business experience. And as I shared it in social media, I would post a picture every day on Facebook. Other people in my target market would reach out and say, hey, this is awesome. My business doesn't let me do all that stuff. How did you make your business let you do all that? Like, just the cascading effects, 100% business related. And I loved it. Anything to add? All right. So I'm going to touch base with Jack. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
You did that. Like, what are you seeing the reflections of what you did last month, and how has it affected either your perspective or actually the physical outcomes of your business this month?
I, through that challenge and sharing it on social media, made contact with at least 5 people who were good, solid prospects for working with me in my coaching business. Added people to my community who were interested in what I was doing and who were attracted to that kind of energy. Since that time, started working with an awesome new coaching client who may or may not be on this call with me today. I love it. I think everything's been going in the right direction. And it really, like I said, is about that energy. And there are metaphorical lessons learned from the experiences themselves, like the autocross and the flying a plane, and from stand-up paddleboarding and a lot of these things, yoga, all this stuff, and that's all cool and interesting, but the real business impact has just been phenomenal. I mean, I say a lot, success loves action, and this was extreme action taking, and it generated a huge amount of momentum and interest and activity in the business. It was tremendously valuable.
Cool.
Awesome. So let me just check in with the chat room. Sean shared that he and his wife bought 1,500 iPads to resell, and they already have orders for those before the shipment even arrived. Awesome retail opportunity. Congratulations, Sean. Rob comments in the chat room that his win was to connect with merchant services company to help develop business and restaurants for hip Marcus services. That looks like a giant. I don't know what that word is. It looks like a acronym for something. So congratulations, Rob. And all right, that's all the new comments. I love it. You know Rob, Bill. They did some animations for your website.
Yeah, they did. We have a video on YouTube with Keystone Specific Chiropractor on YouTube that they did an introductory animation video that really gives a good example of who we are, what we represent, and also the different success stories we've had. So it was a fun project to work with Rob too. Like we got a lot of interest in it, and people. The funny thing is, like, I've just had a lot of people checking me out on different platforms. I had somebody check out a YouTube interview I did for my technique group, and they came into my office and they were like, "That was a really interesting YouTube video you had." And I was like, "Which one's that? The one Rob made me? Like the animation one?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that was a great project. We did a cool little overview." And they're like, "No, the one where you were interviewing with the Asian guy." And I'm like, "Oh, that one." And it had so people are checking me out in one way or another. So it's nice to have some good things out there like Rob created for us. He does a really cool job. He's really fun to work with, and it was a great project.
And all that, again, about taking action, getting out, putting yourself out there, sharing that action with other people so they can find it and engage with it and experience it. Exactly in line with what we're already talking about. Have we ever plugged your website, Bill? That's getspecificpa.com, right?
Yep, you got it.
And you do most of your locally, but soon to take over the world, right?
Sure, yeah. At least Pennsylvania.
All right, I love it. We'll start there and grow out. Okay, so the focus of what I want to talk today then really is like, how do you get started in your own challenge? How can you apply this in your own life? Like, it was a great experience. It created interest for me in my business. It helped me reach some of my business goals. So what can you take from that to start, kickstart your business success? Start really just like getting the results that you want. And so I have a couple tips because I started putting this out there. And one of the things that happened when I started asking people what's their challenge, what are they going to challenge themselves to, is people would start listing goals. And we talked last week about goal setting and how setting effective goals means you tie the goal that you have to your core values, knowing your core values, letting your goals flow from your core values, and then breaking the goals down into the daily actions that are actually going to lead to success in those goals, right? You were here for that conversation, right, Bill?
I was.
Right. So the challenge really is about finding a way to kind of give yourself, it's almost like a game that you can play with yourself to exercise those daily core behaviors. What's your experience been with that, Bill?
Yeah, it took me a couple days to even write anything on that page because I don't like to make a goal that doesn't strike an emotion to make a significant change. And my experience with it is the pieces of my life where I'm most productive and I'm most effective, I'm always committed to a lot of different things on a regular basis. Not like an overhaul of, oh, I made a list of 100 things and I'm going to do them all. But I think one of the disciplines of it there's creativity and discipline. Like when I know I'm disciplined, I'm more motivated to attack more and get more done. And I feel more in the flow because I'm getting small accomplishments lead. So I think it's really just by making it, if that's to refrain from something, if that's to do something, it becomes instilled not only in what you want for yourself, but also what you start to produce in your practice. I really think my practice opened with such success was because discipline and things like you're talking about, creating some goals, attacking them for 90 days, and doing it with the spirit of this is pretty important. It was one of the reasons that people were attracted to me and people were attracted to my practice. So it kind of comes full circle. It's not just for yourself in a selfish way, it actually is for your clients.
And that's a great example because one of the kind of challenges that you had for yourself before you opened the doors was to go to 100 networking events in a certain number of days.
Yep, that was one of them. So I like that much since I got back into practice. It's like, oh, this is my end of year goal, or oh, this is what I want to do. And maybe it wasn't all right, the next quarter, what am I going to do personally? What am I going to do in my business? What am I going to do with my family to get more of what I want in life? To focus on the core values is huge. Like when we nailed that down a week ago, it was like, oh wow, one of my huge core values is impact. So how can I make the most impact to the people I care for, but also an impact on myself? What do I need to turn around that's just going to make me impactful to people I take care of? So asking that question really helped with chunking it. In the next 90 days as a team, we made a bunch of business goals that we're chasing after. And it's what are we going to get if we get there? And we went over that today a little bit too, because some people are motivated by different things, but what are we all going to do together? We're going to celebrate because we all like to celebrate. So that was one of them. But then personally, you have to have some balance in your life. So I tried to make all of my goals that I posted and things, an area of health, an area of discipline, an area of focus, an area of business, because I can be an extremist. Somebody told me I'm like a pit bull sometimes. I'll just go after like something too crazily and never have any balance to it. So I'm trying to not do that and be more effective with my goals by spreading them out a little bit. So.
And Amy adds to your comment about discipline, what she really likes about the challenge is that it removes some of the mental hemming and hawing that can occur if you're thinking just kind of generally about your to-do list and just all the things that you could possibly do in a day.
Right. I like that.
So that's what I really want to focus on, is going from that goal level, because it's one thing to say, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to make $100,000. It's another thing to say, okay, so if that's the outcome that I want, what do I have to be doing every day, day in and day out, that's naturally going to lead me to get there? I want to attract high energy, successful, happy clients to work with me who just want to maximize that and go faster and remove resistance. So what can I be doing, for 30 days that's going to lead to attracting those people into my life? That was kind of the core of my 30-day challenge in June. And so it really is breaking down, okay, I want to attract a certain amount of new business in 60 days. What do I need to be doing every day between now and then that's going to naturally lead to achieving that goal? That's what these challenges are really all about. Anything to add to that, Bill?
No, I mean, I think that nailed it. I think just sometimes people don't make it explicit. I think Amy brought up the best point with her comment, is like a to-do list is like daunting, where like a challenge list is like, I'm going to do this. And then you're letting other people know, and it's like, okay, we're going to do this. And it's almost, we're not a sports team anymore, but that's what they do. Like, we're going to go for this, and who's on board? Let's go for it. So it's like, you or the people in the chat room or here, it's like, you need people to surround yourself to go for it. And if they don't want to go for it, they're probably not the right people.
Now, the other side of this is we don't want them to be like New Year's resolutions where you're setting yourself up for failure. We want this to be something that you can actually succeed at. Like that's fun. My 30-day challenge was easy. I had a lot of motivation to proceed with that because every day I was doing some new, fun, awesome thing that I already wanted to do anyway. So it was like a no-brainer that I actually go out and do it. And that really was probably my biggest lesson learned, is that life is an open invitation. All those activities were things I could have gone to do at any time. They were sitting there waiting to be done. I just never pulled the trigger to actually go out and do it until I had this challenge. And then I went and took all these great actions. And so what we want out of this is if we're aligning the goals with your core values and we're aligning these behaviors with your goals, then they should be things that you already really want to do anyway. And so that's what we're going to talk about today with these kind of tips for how to make your challenge successful. And part of it is defining the right challenge, like we've already talked about a couple times, aligning the things that you're challenging yourself to do with your goals and your core behaviors. The other really has to do with like how you kind of set the parameters for the challenge itself. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. Amy also adds that the challenge helps you focus on action, which is great. Like this general idea that somewhere out in the future, you could have this awesome end result that you want is great. And it feels good to think about that, but that doesn't necessarily move you towards it. Breaking it down into the actual action that's going to get you there is what's going to get you there. That sounds a little repetitive, but like you got to take the steps to actually get out there and do it, not just think about it and want it. And that stuff is important, but it's only half the picture. All right. So I have a little list that I started of, success points for creating the challenge and being successful with it. If you have anything to add as we go through here, Bill, feel free to jump in. Chat room, any questions that come up as I'm going through this, just type them into the chat window and they will pop up on my screen. I will be happy to answer them either as they come in or at the end. So defining your challenge. Just a couple kind of like core things I want you to think about is to have a beginning and an end date. You're going to start your challenge on a certain day and it's going to run for a certain amount of time. Now, my challenge that I'm doing right now is a pretty long challenge. It's 90 days. And that's intentional. My first challenge wasn't 90 days. My first challenge was 30 days. So whatever's right for you, it could be a 5-day challenge. It could be a 10-day challenge. It could be a certain number of weeks. I would definitely suggest you don't go longer than 90 days. But I would really think somewhere in that 30 to 60-day range probably is about ideal. Do you agree with that, Bill?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah. Anything more is just getting lost.
All right. I love it. The other thing is that we want measurable daily behavior. Something that I can say, this is what I'm going to do every day so that I can know whether I was successful at that or not. As just kind of a binary yes or no. Personal and business. So I believe that there's nothing more personal than business. Business is deeply personal. All these sayings about it's nothing personal, it's just business, like I don't buy that at all. We are who we are all the time. If I'm walking around with limiting belief or fear or anger, or that's going to leak through into my business in some way, shape, or form. And so those are the things that I want to be working on. But these also can be more purely business goals. So one of my goals right now is that at the end of 90 days, I want to be attracting between 20 and 25 new leads into my community every single day. So the behaviors that I'm working on all have to do with setting up funnels, setting up marketing campaigns, creating offers that are going to add up to that result that I want 90 days from now. I also have goals that are more personal. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to run 5 miles in 40 minutes. In a sense, like I think of these in business goals only in the sense of if I envision the kind of business owner that I want to be, that business owner is healthy, happy, and successful. The 3 words that I'll frequently attach are healthy, powerful, and flexible. And yes, those are personal characteristics, personal attribute, but they're definitely going to impact my business. They're going to impact how much energy I can carry into my business, how much strength I carry into my business. My business is very leadership oriented. And so people want to see those kind of outward signs of strength, of discipline, of power, of flexibility, that kind of thing. So yes, personal on one hand, but also very much business related on the other hand. Anything to add, Bill?
No, I mean, those 2 pieces, I feel like everybody I've ever worked with kind of says that, and I think that's why the emotional component and the mental component is so powerful. I mean, my wife's a counselor, and we both kind of understand how mindset and psychology and interfere or affect your personal life and your business life. So I think when you're working on one, you're working on the other, and vice versa. And I also think it's good to not run from the things that you're deficient at. If you do decide, like, hey, personally, it's like if you're having a bad marriage, you don't run away from that marriage, you run towards it. If you're having trouble in this one area, you should probably run towards it to like get more intimate with it, to understand it better, as opposed to just completely negate it until it's a real problem and then it's broken focus. So I think like in business and in personal, having that attitude is consistent across both, and it starts to show up in both.
Yeah, and I think this really answers the question that I got yesterday of like, so are these personal challenges or are they business challenges? And my answer to that to most business owners is good luck separating the two, right?
Yeah.
And your point about like a marriage is a great example. Are you going to move away from that, or are you going to move towards that? And leads to kind of the next set. So that first set of things that I brought up were very like tactical and setting parameters for your challenges. And now this next set moves towards what we really want. Because you don't want your challenge items to be something that you don't want to do. Because then you're just falling back on self-judgment and criticism and willpower and forcing yourself to try and do it. And now we're back in New Year's resolution territory. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you associate the daily activity with the desired outcome that you want in such a way that you can really feel good and energized and empowered to do that daily behavior every single day. It shouldn't be something that you think every day, like, oh man, I have to do this thing again and I just really don't want to. Well, guess what? That's going to last for about a day, and then you're not going to be doing that thing, right? That's how people are. We all have experienced that, right?
Right.
So my first thing on this list is make those daily tasks something that you want to do. Okay, so what about, if I have a weight loss exercise, I maybe don't want to go exercise every day. So instead of a weight loss goal, maybe your goal is every day to try and find an exercise that I enjoy doing, or just to, do some amount of exercise that I can enjoy every day, regardless of what it is. Try different exercises every day and see if I can find something that I like. Something like that, really kind of like reframing the challenge. So ultimately your goal is weight loss, but you know that to get there, you need to kind of shift your identity towards someone who likes living that lifestyle, where eating a healthy diet doesn't feel like a sacrifice, but eating a healthy diet feels consistent with who you are and you enjoy doing it and you enjoy that good feeling. So finding foods that are going to give you that feeling. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, well, one of the things Amy said is, so is it better to do one challenge at a time or a bunch at once? And I don't know if you ever read or listened to the book Power of Habit. It talks about like core habits, and the question is, like a lot of people always ask me in my profession, like, hey, do you do nutrition? Do you do exercise? Do you do weight loss? Do you do all these other, that help with the big umbrella? And there's many different pillars and many different places you can receive it. And I always tell them I don't. But what I typically find, and this happens all the time, is better I'm at one of my focuses or what I actually do, the more likely people are like, what can I do next? That's what I hear on a regular basis. What can I do next? So like when Amy says, is one challenge better than a bunch at once? I think a lot of times one is enough, as long as it's kind of directed in the right direction. As long as it's going the right way, because it's like, oh, that was great. I'm really enjoying this one and I'm accomplishing it. What can I do next? And I know for myself, I do that stuff all the time. It's like, what's the one task I need to do? Oh, okay, what can I do next? As opposed to, I'm going to do 10 of these things and let me track them all and let me create a whole nother process to manage all of that. And then it's like overwhelmed and it's like, forget it. You know what? I don't really want to do half of those anyway. So I think one is just as important as any.
Yeah, and I mean, so to summarize that, might say, success breeds success. Once you are enjoying doing it and seeing success with it, it's easy to add more on top of that and to want to get more done. If I'm already feeling productive, and this was one of the questions I would get with my 30-day challenge for new experiences. Well, what happens at the end of the month? Like, what do you mean what happens? I just keep doing things. It's like, it's not an end to it. It's a starting point. It's a beginning point. It's just to get out there, develop a habit, start doing new things. So I totally agree with you. I think trying to pile on a lot of challenges can make them harder to achieve. And one of the key things that we want to do is make this easy to achieve. And like you said, it's just a jumping off point. If you start your day feeling successful, you're going to keep working to maintain that feeling throughout the day. So I totally agree. Love it. Okay, so the next point is, we talked about aligning the daily behaviors with the core goals, shifting the identity. And I think these really are the core things that make it work. So like part of what I said about my current business challenge, which actually is a little bit more complex. It's a longer 90-day challenge. It includes business development activities. It includes personal milestones. So to me, what I did is I figured, okay, well, the two things that I really want is I want to have 2,000 people in my community, and I want to lose 20 pounds. Like, these are my big overall goals. To get there, if this is the kind of business and the kind of life I want to have, I imagine somebody who lives that lifestyle is consistent about exercise, consistent about diet, consistent about business development, and has some degree of flexibility. So I put together 5 behaviors that to me represent that I'm living that lifestyle, that I'm being that person, that I have internalized that identity. And so my 90-day challenge is about establishing consistency with all 5 of those behaviors. So this is a little bit more complex, but it's, to my mind, creating the identity of who I want to be, and that it feels good to meditate every day, and it feels good to exercise on a regular schedule, and it feels good to eat right, and it feels good to be building my business. This is the feeling that I want to have throughout my life. And if I let myself slip on these things, then I'm demonstrating that I don't have the discipline and maturity and identity to get those results that I want. Am I consistent here with how I'm talking about it, Bill?
I believe so. I think there's, because it's like the push and pull of deciding to do those things. Like, is it really worth it? So you pick the right ones that are worth it, and then it becomes, you instill the discipline towards the goals that you want it. But I think you broke it down correctly. I think sometimes I don't break it down that way, because it's like, I'm not like, what do I really want to feel in life? What do I really want to set myself up to be? And analyze that before. It's like, well, these are good things to do. This is what average people would do to be better in life. I'll do those things. but they're not really the ones I'm trying to work on. So then they don't work, and then we fall off. So I think that's probably the first step, is to decide, like you said, I think you've done it in all of your businesses, is like, what do I want more of? Oh, I want more of that. Okay, I'll go get that. As opposed to, what do other people want me to be? How should I look?
Right, what's going to make me successful? And I think that's been really valuable. So to me, quite honestly, the two hardest things, two of my goals are to meditate twice a day, in the morning and the evening, and then to eat healthy. And then I have 3 other things. The 3 other things have been easy for me. The 2 hardest ones have been meditating in the evening, in that second session, and maintaining my healthy eating through the evening. And so one point is that the string of doing it now for 7 days in a row gives me strength to do it for the 8th day and keep it going, because I want to maintain that streak. Keeping in mind that these are the behaviors that are consistent with who I want to be gives me power and strength to keep it going. But the last 2 points that I wanted to bring up are about recoverability. What happens when you fall off the wagon? What happens when you break your streak? And how do you avoid letting that happen? And I think these are both situations that we need to plan for, to account for. And so one for me is identifying triggers. So I know that if I sit down to watch TV in the evening, I'm gonna, 1, want a snack while I'm watching TV, and 2, probably want to watch TV until bedtime and then not feel like meditating and feel like it's too late. Now I'm tired and I just want to go to sleep, so I don't want to do it. So that trigger I've been avoiding, and that helps a huge amount. So I maybe or maybe don't have a strong feeling about watching TV in the evening, but I know that if I do it, I'm likely to trigger failure in these other 2 habits that I do want. So I'll just maybe watch a little bit of TV and then go back to reading and do my meditation and keep myself away from the kitchen where I'm not going to be tempted to do any snacking. And that sets me up for success by avoiding those triggers. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think also picking, like, how are you going to reward yourself when you accomplish those? I think that's a huge thing. You know, like, what I heard a speaker, I think he's a business coach in a sense, but he works with a lot of pastors. His name's Ronnie Doss. And one of the things, I have a couple of his audio programs, one of his things he always put to different challenges was, what is something that you're, like, not willing to give up? Like, but you have to give up or get rid of or do if you do not complete the challenge. But more importantly, like, how are you going to reward yourself? Like, it's got to be enough to create emotion. Like, how are you really going to reward yourself if you do all these amazing things that you know at the end are going to be very rewarding financially, personally, but, like, what are you going to do? Like, what's the outcome of that? Now, I mean, I think you probably mentally set yourself up, I'm going to do these 30 days, I'm going to have these amazing experiences, and I'm going to be like, holy cow, my life is way better. But a lot of people, it's like, all right, I'm going to do all these things. It's going to be awesome, and I'll probably be better. I don't really know what that looks like, but it's that I'm going to reward myself with a trip. And you're like, well, what if I don't have enough money to do that trip? Well, I'm just going to do it, because if I do these tasks, I know it's going to lead to more success, and I know I'm going to be able to buy that car or buy something. You know, like, that's important, because, you know, we're driven by pain and pleasure, so we might as well love for that. I think that's a huge thing. Like, if I do these, what am I going to give myself?
Absolutely. And goes well in line with setting yourself up for success, is keeping those things in mind. And the more we can align with our core values, the more motivation we're going to have to keep those things moving forward. We want to be relying on passion and inspiration, not on willpower and discipline.
Yeah.
Psychologically, keeping track of it in terms of streaks helps a lot. And Amy asks, do you track your progress certain ways as you go along? Okay, so she's not actually asking about keeping track of, like, a streak. She's asking, how do you know you're moving towards the result that you want? So yes and no. To some extent, my challenge is a 90-day challenge, because I know a lot of those results aren't going to be showing up day by day. And, like, this is what I talk about with the weight loss example. What I weigh today is not the result of what I did or didn't eat for breakfast this morning, or whether I slept in or exercised today. It's the accumulation of all the decisions I've made in those 2 areas up to this point. My bank account balance is not the result of a spending decision that I made yesterday or an invoice that I sent this morning. It's the accumulation of all the decisions that I've made in that area up until this point. And so this goes to selecting the right behaviors to lead to that end result that you want. And it might be helpful for you to talk to somebody about that, somebody who's got experience in that area, somebody who you trust, a coach, an advisor, somebody who can help with that. And really, I think a lot of it goes to having a very clear vision of what your core values are and what your goals are, so that this becomes your framework for making these kinds of decisions. Do I know that I'm on track with this? Well, it's aligned with my core values and it's aligned with my goals. So yeah, I'm on the right track. At some point, do you say, man, I'm just not getting where I want to go? Yeah, you could absolutely say that. And I think that's going to be a judgment call. I mean, anything specific we can look for there, Bill? I mean, what's your sense of that?
Well, I think it's kind of like that's why it takes me back to a mentor, a coach, a person you're going to actually trust to be objective. And it's kind of like what you do, what your response, like I'm saying you, Mike, as a coach or any other advisor you have, like part of the goals or things you choose to do, you hit a point where you're like, I don't know how to act. And then it's part of having those mentors or putting a strong person in your life that's actually objective, not just, your wife has some feelings associated with it, so does my wife, but to be objective, to be like, no, your next step, it sounds to me, is like this. Like that's just kind of like, instead of taking 10 challenges, all right, these 10 challenges are your next step. It's like, what's actually the next step? And I think that's where, like, having a mentor, that's a strong piece of having goals, having discipline. If you don't have those people, it's really easy to like back out and be like, you know what, that wasn't so bad, I'm gonna get out of this.
Yeah, and talking through that, it reminded me of what we talked about on the last webinar about making sure that you've got the right goals, that they're your goals. Because a lot of times people think, okay, well, I'm starting a business and I have to make money, so I guess my goal is $1 million. Well, maybe that's not really your goal. It sounds like a cool goal, and yeah, it'd be great to have $1 million, but what does that mean to you? Does that mean security? Does that mean success? Does that mean safety? Is that something to brag up? Like, what is that to you, that's what you want? If what you want is $1 million, then sure, make that your goal and go out and get it. But a lot of time people get frustrated because they think that $1 million means something else. They assign value to it other than just the monetary value. And then now they have a misalignment. Their goals aren't aligned with their core values. So there's no way the daily activities can be aligned. And I think that's a big risk, which we talked about last time. And that outside perspective can definitely help you get. Did you have something? You looked like you had something you wanted to add.
I think I lost it now, but it was good. I don't know if this is for mine. Like, a lot of people like to make other people's goals for them.
Yeah.
They like to be like, oh no. I think this is what you should do, or I think this is what your vision should be, or it's like, what? This is my life. Don't I get to? I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna decide what I want to do, as opposed to, like people say, oh no, you gotta just do this. You gotta do this. These are your goals. This is what you should shoot for. And it's like, whoa, I have one of the most screwed up professions in that regard. It really is.
Don't you think so? I mean, a lot of people kind of think they want that. If you don't know yourself, or if you don't have the confidence to say, this is what I want, and I was there for a long time, it can feel easy to say, well, what should my goals be? What do you think I can achieve? I agree with you that that's the wrong way to approach it. But, I mean, it's easy for people to fall into that, right?
It's very easy, especially when you don't know who you are, what you stand for, what you want for your life. Like, another thing I learned a lot from a lot of my mentors is, like, what's your vision for your life? Not necessarily like, what's your vision for your profession, or so, what's the vision for your life? Like, that's something to work towards. Like, that's exciting. Like, do you want to travel and have time with your family? Not everybody wants to, like, because getting to $1 million for people, it can be easy for some, and it can be like you work every hour of every week for others, and you have no family life, and your life falls to crap. It can be totally different. So the vision, or just having a goal of $1 million, is absolutely silly if the vision for you to get there is, I'm going to spend every waking hour working, but I really want to travel, or I really want to travel, but I want $1 million, but then I'm going to work all the time every day. Like, those two things don't line up at all. And who's to say one's right or one's wrong? It's your vision for your life. And that's where, like, recently in practice, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to work necessarily as in the same capacity now as I want to in 10 years. I don't want to. And that's my vision. And that should be okay. People should be okay with that. if that's not what's for me, you know?
And I totally agree with that. I think, and this is actually one of the most common things that comes up in my coaching and was what the journey that I went through, which is knowing and trusting yourself to know what you want and to know what's best for you is the most important skill or characteristic or attribute a business owner can have. Without that, almost everything else is just guessing, and you're not setting yourself up for success. So if that's part of what you're trying to figure out, then absolutely focus your energy on answering that question. And I get that there are a lot of issues behind that, but it's a solvable problem. I mean, we all have, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, our natural state is to be happy, healthy, and successful. So if you feel like something like that is missing from your life, then it's just a matter of reconnecting with it. It's there for you to find as soon as you know where to look, right? So that's what we're here to talk about through these episodes. All right, so removing triggers, making sure we've got the right goals, planning for recoverability. So what happens if you fall off the wagon? I've got this streak going, I'm 7 days in, and I'm just, and actually this almost happened to me on Wednesday. So one of my goals is to get to a 40-minute 5 mile. Now this, you're a runner, so that may be an aggressive goal to cut my pace from 10 minutes and 22nd mile to an 8-minute mile in 3 months. Maybe I'm crazy for trying to do that, but I came up with a running plan, and I'm going to do the best that I can to get there. But Wednesday morning, I was at the track and pulled a hamstring. So now what happens? Do I just give up on my challenge and it's over and I quit before I even really start, or what do I do? And that was a really interesting kind of eye-opening experience for me, because I realized even in business, like a lot of people do this. You know, you don't get the result you want to a campaign, and all of a sudden it's, well, maybe I should just give up before I even really get started. Now, are you laughing because of your running background, or are you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
You know, I'm a really good coach.
Start over again. You're stopping there a little bit.
Okay, I said I'm laughing because I'm actually a really good distance coach, and I've coached the fastest 2-miler in Pennsylvania history. So I don't know why if you can run 2 miles faster than you can run 1. So so maybe you should get some advice from me as far as running.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But so I mean, do you agree with this though? I mean, a pulled muscle, it sucks, but it's no reason to like quit, right?
No, because this is what happens. Like if you're an athlete and you pull a hamstring, it's not like, oh, I'm sorry, you're just in the ice tub every day. No, you rehab it. You find ways to keep your cardiovascular health, your endurance. You make the not lose the gains you've made and the fitness you've made. That's what an athlete would do. They wouldn't be like, oh no, I got a hamstring that's ripped. It's like it happens all the time. Like, what am I going to do to take initiative to come back as strong as I can? So I think the same thing is like, it's another attitude. It's like, oh no, I messed that up. Well, guess what? I guess I didn't approach it correctly. Where can I tweak it, and where can I recover from it? I think sports is one of the best ways to evaluate goals and performance all day. So if you have like an athletic background, which running is mine, I can turn everything into a running discussion. It's like my hamstring's down, but I haven't lost all my heart fitness. So let's keep working on my cardiovascular while we strengthen it. Like you fall off the wagon, you find other ways to strengthen the virtue or the value you're looking for.
Yeah, and that was absolutely what I recognized is, yeah, okay, this sucks. I pulled my hamstring, but I could swim. I could do other activities. Like I don't want to lose ground on cardiovascular strength. So what can I do to hold that up? Maybe it's biking. Maybe it's something else. But there's ways to keep moving forward. Maybe I have to adapt my plan. Maybe I never run again. Who knows? But that's probably not the case. So I maintain my strength, improve in the other areas as best I can. And then when I'm ready to get back on the track, I get back on the track. And it's the same. I think this happens to business owners all the time in their businesses, where something doesn't go the way they want or expect. And then they just think they have to like totally retool, burn the house down and start over. And that's almost never the case. Almost every time there are a handful of small tweaks that you can make. They're going to help you get you not even just on back on track, but going even faster than you were before. I mean, look at this. If I didn't have this injury, I wouldn't have brought it up on the webinar, and I wouldn't have had the coach of the fastest runner in the state of Pennsylvania offer to help me with this problem, right?
That's exactly right.
So maybe pulling that muscle on Wednesday is the best thing that could have happened to this goal, because now I'm connected with a resource who can help me solve the problem.
I've taken like 20 minutes off of people's marathon times. I can take a couple minutes off your 5 mile.
Yeah, but a marathon, you're running for like half a day. I'm not into that.
Well, we're not talking about that. 5 miles, 40 minutes. Easy.
All right, I'm in.
My wife has done that.
Okay.
Yeah, she could do that.
I mean, I used to do it. I figure 8-minute miles are cool because at my peak, I was running 7-minute miles. So I'm not trying to like do that again. I mean, I'm not 20 years old, but I can push myself a little, right?
Let me clarify. My wife can do anything now.
Is she in the room with you?
Sorry.
Awesome. And so one last thing I want to mention, I know there's a question for Rob waiting that Amy's prompting me to get to, so we will definitely get to that. But in terms of recoverability, don't let a failure be the end of your goal. I mean, that's kind of the point here. Learn from it. Continue doing what works. Continue doing what you can. Maybe you need to change direction. No, that's fine. You can change direction. You can pivot. But don't just throw away all the progress you've already made. And I have so in the Marine Corps, we would have these immediate action drills. And the Marine Corps is very much about making things very simple and easy and just ingraining it into you so that whenever the situation arises, you just immediately know what to do. So my immediate action drill for failure like this, if you get discouraged, if something doesn't go the way you want and you feel like it's getting in your head, is recognize, relax, and reach up. So recognize that things didn't go the way you wanted, and maybe you're disappointed, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're angry, maybe you're depressed, and that potentially that could spiral out of control. Just recognize that that's the case. Relax, take a minute, remember that it's, not the worst thing, it's not the last time you're ever gonna fail, it's not a permanent failure, it doesn't mean you're a failure, it's just, it is what it is, and you can recover from the situation, and then reach up for help. So you want to reach up to somebody who is where you want to be, who has the strength to help pull you up to that level, who has the experience to help you recover. You don't want to reach out to somebody else who's drowning. If you're going under, it doesn't do anybody any good for you to latch on to somebody else who's in the same situation as you, because now you're just going to sink together. You need to reach up to somebody who's in a position to help you, who's got strength. So, a lot of times it means you're not going to your parents, you're not going to your friends, you're not going to your coworkers, you're not going to your employees. You're going to people who are in a position to help you with this problem, who have addressed these kinds of challenges, who have strength, who have power and authority, who have the capacity to help support you in those moments when you can't support yourself. So the immediate action drill when you feel like you're struggling is recognize, relax, and reach up. Anything to add to that?
No, that's awesome. That's really great. I wrote that down.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I think that's the first time I've said that on a podcast. So that this is a view of the immediate action drill for a struggle in life, right? Okay, so maybe I've been putting this off because I don't know how to answer it, but Rob's question is, I'm evaluating some new opportunities. How do I use personal challenges to evaluate these? So I don't know what the scope is. And I'm wondering if a personal challenge is the right way to do that. So one thing I can think is if it's a matter of time, then the challenge could be something like, every day I'm going to spend the first 15 minutes of the day working on this. And on the first day, maybe it's just coming up with a process for how you're going to approach it for the rest of the week. If it's evaluating, I don't know. What do you hear in this, Bill? This feels like a tough one.
New opportunities. How do I use personal challenges to evaluate? Man.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I see this connection.
I would say evaluating new opportunities. How do I evaluate these personal challenges? Or how do I use my personal challenges to evaluate these? I would have to say if it's like the people might not line up with where you're going. You just said like reach up. Maybe that isn't your reach up client. Maybe they're not lining up with what you're trying to do. Or I'm picturing almost like is the opportunity gaining me more of what I want? It's kind of like is it a job opportunity or is it more of where I'm trying to go by this? What am I gaining from these challenges? I'm gaining more confidence. Is it a confident deal, or should I not do it because it's a liability? You know, so I think you can kind of use that. Like, what are you getting from doing the experiences you're doing? It would be like you choosing one of those experiences where you're like, well, I'm gonna like go do something incredibly extreme that's like very dangerous, and it doesn't align with what you're trying to accomplish from that. So like, if it's a type of experience that's totally far off from where you're going, that's how you could absolutely evaluate it. For me, it could be like a client, like more of the people who are willing to take action in their life and health. And then I get this person who just a drainer, brings me down, never has anything positive to say. It would be like, well, that's an opportunity that I could maybe take, but I don't want more of that. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is that it's, so I'm thinking the personal challenges come into play more on the pursuing side of these opportunities. I think the question here really is, are these opportunities, like the question to ask yourself is, are these opportunities aligned with my goals and aligned with my core values? That's the decision-making framework for should I do anything or not do a thing. Is doing this thing advancing my goals and aligned with my core values? And that's not necessarily a personal challenge issue. That's an alignment issue. And so if you don't have a way to answer that, so maybe the challenge is to more clearly define your core values and to experiment with, you know, the different activities, or spend time each day meditating on it, or reach out to different people who can help work through this with you. But that question really sounds to me much more like, how do I identify my core values and how do I set my goals so that I have a decision framework for whether I pursue these opportunities or not. And then once you are ready to pursue opportunities, I think this is where your personal daily challenge can really come into play to try new things each week. I know Amy has goals to like research a certain number of products each week and come up with a certain number of new listings each week. So these to me sound like the daily challenges to pursue opportunities. But I think the real question is, are the opportunities aligned with your core values or not? And that's not a question that's going to be answered through the challenge. That's the question you answer before you take the challenge. Fair to say?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So we're almost at an hour now. And I actually have a few more questions from people who wrote in through Facebook, the Facebook group that we started for Start Your Challenge. Start Your Challenge Facebook group, which is for business owners. A lot of those challenges are going to be personal challenges, but we've already kind of talked about that link, about how these things are connected. I will plug here as we get to the hour, if anybody wants to join us on this live event every Friday at 2 p.m. We're actually not going to be here next Friday, being the 31st of July, 2015, but we will be back again on August 7th at 2 p.m. And I'll promote that. At any point, though, regardless, you can go to bebuildhave.com/join live. One word, all lowercase, join live, bebuildhave.com/join live. And that will take you to the current registration page for whatever the next live event is. And so in this case, it's going to be 2 weeks, but normally we'll be doing this every week. And I will publish there what the topic for the next webinar is. So please come join in the conversation there. We interact with the chat room. If you want to come live on the video, you can do that. I am going to, do you have a few minutes, Bill? Can I bring up these other questions?
I have a few.
All right, so we'll go fast. If you need to drop off, drop off. I'll try and get through these. So Daniel asks, top productivity apps, and is it okay to switch through them from if you get bored with them? So what I would say is, don't let the productivity apps be a distraction. They're tools. Now, Daniel, you're a tradesman, right? So to me, that's like saying, you know, should I switch hammers every once in a while so I don't get bored with the one that I'm using? If it's doing the job for you, that's all that matters. Use the one that you're comfortable with and use the one that's helping you plan. It's just a tool. Don't let the tool be a distraction from doing the job. It's not gonna determine your success. It's just gonna help you do it better. Book recommendations to help get us started, and other top influencers in the area of challenging ourselves, which is actually a tough question for me to answer in the terms of challenging yourselves. But in terms of goal setting, I think some clear winners to look at. Maxwell Maltz's Psycho-Cybernetics. I love that book. It was recently updated by Dan Kennedy. I don't know if he added a lot of new value or not. Either way, the original was great. The updated book is great. Go with that. Brian Tracy's Goals book, also excellent. And then kind of more generally, I think Napoleon Hill on mindset and how we think about approaching our problems. Think and Grow Rich, obviously a great choice. Anything you can find by Earl Nightingale. There are a couple of great YouTube videos. And then obviously, you know, Brendan Burchard has 2 great books, Charge and The Motivation Manifesto, that you can check out, and pretty much anything by Tony Robbins. Okay, where do you get your inspiration from? I mean, like, those people are all great, but the reason I shifted to this format for the podcast is because the most inspiring thing for me is connecting with you guys and working with just awesome clients that, like, I have, and being involved in their success. It's cool to read the success stories and wins from the big guys, but to me, there's nothing more inspiring than connecting with the business owners who are trying to make things work in their business and seeing them just, like, figure it out and start getting that success. Anything to add, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say, like, the circle of friends that I put together when I moved here back to the area has all been a huge influence. I would say Grant Cardone is a huge influence on, as far as action, goal setting, and mindset for me. And John Dill, he's a huge mentor for me in the chiropractic and healthcare and business building world. And he kind of, some of the books he pushes or incorporates is like Book Yourself Solid, Michael Port, to kind of help organize and focalize what you want more of in your business. I think those are huge ones. But I would say the motivation is those on a regular basis. I think sometimes I would spread myself out too much with too many things, than not gleaning as much information. But those are really like the major people and resources in my life that kind of drive me on a regular basis. I think Grant Cardone's 10X rule is like one of the best books I've read in a long time. So I sell that to him all day.
Yeah, I agree. That is a really good book, and I'll add that to the list of recommendations, is Grant Cardone's 10X rule and Michael Port. Final question from Daniel is, how do I decide who I should spend time with and who I should let go? And this reminds me of the Jim Rohn quote that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So I would say keep the people around you that can support you and energize you. And if you can support people, then okay, cool. But anybody who's going to drag you down and demotivate you and sap your energy and try and pull you down to where they are, those are the people that you got to let go. And I get that that can be painful, but you know, I really find that to be true. I mean, this is why I have my dream team of the 5 people that I want to hang out with, because these are the people that I want to be like. Bill is on that dream team, as are some of the other people that we've referenced throughout this call. So yeah, be conscious of that. And then also fall back on the immediate action drill. If you find that you are surrounded by people who are sucking you down, recognize that's happening, relax, you know, it's okay. And then reach up to somebody who can help you sort that out. Anything to add?
No, I think that's there's no more. I think the recognize, relax, and reach up is an awesome. That's my biggest takeaway for today.
Love it. Okay, 2 more quick questions from Kara. With so many ideas and things to get done, how do I choose which goals to work on first? I think we kind of addressed that with Rob's question, that the decision is made in the context of your core values and your goals. So once you've got that framework in place, answering these questions should end up being a lot easier. So, you know, we're all subject to the shiny object syndrome and chasing squirrels and all that as entrepreneurs. So there's that to account for. So maybe there's an element of discipline in holding yourself to what you know you can actually achieve. But if you have that framework of clear core values, clearly defined core values, and clearly defined goals, then choosing which of these things to work on should start to fall into place. And if you have struggle with that, you can reach out. And then how do I figure how much time these activities should take? I'm always too optimistic on what I can complete. I mean, I think this is the idea of separating the outcome of the goal from the daily behavior that you think is going to get you there. So we're not saying, you know, save $1 million in 12 months. We're saying do the behaviors each day that are going to help you generate that kind of money. So today, what's the activity that's going to get me to the point where I can generate $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 this month? Not how do I somehow get this huge lump sum? I mean, is there a way to break that down better that you see, Bill?
I think that's it. Also, like, what energy, or what, you know, how do I divide my time and start acting like that's what I'm doing? I think that's it. Just kind of having the mantra or the walk, like, this is what I'm doing. You know, you can't just like overnight where I want to be. So it's like, really, I think that's why those tasks and goals are so important, to work towards that. Like, what's that person look like is an important question to ask.
Yeah, you can't control how long it's going to take you to get to the outcome, but you can control how much time you spend on a daily basis working. So that's what we manage to do. And if you get into your time and find that it's not enough, then you adjust, but you've at least learned how long it's going to take. And the other thing I always find is once I actually sit down and work on something, I can usually get it done a lot faster than I thought going into it.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's that. All right, so we're going to wrap up. We did go a couple minutes over, Bill. Sorry for that. Any key takeaways?
I mean, I think your, what did you call it? Immediate action, the recognize, relax, and reach up. I mean, I think that's a great thing for almost anything. And I think the reminder at the end is to reach up. And the five people you surround yourself. Like, I think there's a time in my life where I wasn't doing that enough. Yeah. Like, I was the person people were reaching up to instead of like I was finding the right people to like reach up to, you know, or reaching up to the wrong. I really think that's a huge thing to start kind of reframing your behaviors and goals and where I want to go. So that's good.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks again for coming back today, Bill. People can check you out at getspecificpa.com and hopefully be back here again in a couple of weeks. We'll keep this going together. Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you.
Awesome. And I mean, for the chat room, any other key takeaways as we wind down here? Sean added that the tasks should always be continuously taking you towards your goals. I totally agree with that. And again, it goes back to the things that are on your task list should be those things that are contributing to your goals, that are aligned with your core values. So we're right in there. Amy adds that your challenge should be aligned with your core values. Yes, awesome key takeaway. I love it. And my key takeaway is that once again, I just love connecting with you guys. I love the questions. I love the interaction. I love this format. I'm a little disappointed that I'm not going to be here to do it next week, but you get a little bonus today because we went a little long. And I will absolutely be back here on, what did we say, the 7th of August? Let me check that date. Yep, August 7th. Anybody who wants to join live, if you got value from this, you can reach out to me. You can find the replay at bebuildhave.com/replay. You can join live next week, bebuildhave.com/join live. So until we speak again, be the person you want to be, build the business you want to build, and have the successful life you want to have.